I would like to introduce, and I ask you to clap your hand to receive my friend Guilherme Tong, Head of Fraud Prevention at Freenow.
Yeah, hi everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you, Incognia, for the invitation. As you mentioned, I'm the head of fraud prevention and data at Freenow. So excited to share some of the use cases that we are seeing like in our platform. So yeah, hand over back to you.
Thank you, Gui. So my pleasure to be here. Thank you, Marketplace Risk, for the invitation to speak about fraud as a service, GenAI, and sophisticated tools used by fraudsters. Our idea here is to share lots of examples, print screens of fraudsters talking, and real-world examples of how fraudsters are operating large-scale schemes. All right? So I will start with a video because I want you to pay attention. And so nothing better than start with a nice video so you can understand what we're going to talk about through this session. All right?
Olá, eu não sou Dudu. Sou avatar ultra realista criado com inteligência artificial. Now I can speak in any language I want. Puedo hablar en español. Je pourrais aussi parler en français. Woye kaishuo fayu. The implications of AI in content generation will be significant from now on. Have you considered the consequences for digital identity and security? Important elections are approaching. How would you verify a video of a politician or a famous person expressing an opinion? Social engineering will likely increase, and account takeovers will become more prevalent. Can you imagine fraudsters using image injection to create an account with somebody else's identity? The tools and fraud as a service are becoming popular, and anyone can create a video like this in minutes. I believe that there will be no fraud prevention without this kind of detections. Thanks for watching. If you enjoy this content, give your like and share with your network. Thank you.
Yeah, so this video, it took me about 30 to 40 minutes and $20 to make. And I'm not a video maker. And so my point here is that these kind of tools are becoming widely available and it's pretty easy for you. I use a very nice tool to do this. It's called HeyGen. You can try your own and do a video like this. Okay? So we are going to discuss in more detail how tools like this can impact marketplaces, banks, and retailers. So here about the agenda, we are going to discuss fake accounts because all fraud needs an account to be happening. Also discuss about app cloner, image injection, emulators and virtualizers, and the bonus track is about fake GPS. Gui, can you tell me what you do at Freenow and what is Freenow to the entire audience?
Yeah, so very briefly because of time, right? So Freenow is top one super mobility app that we call in Europe. So basically we have integration with public transportation, scooters, car sharing, the core being ride hailing. We focus on taxis. We're available in 150 European cities. And in a nutshell, it's like the headquarters is based in Germany and it's backed by BMW Group and Mercedes-Benz as well.
Good. Thank you, Gui. And from Incognia perspective, we are an identity solution that works with Freenow and other huge apps in the ride-sharing and food delivery companies, Freenow, iFood, Rappi, and other apps like this. We are creating a global network with over 400 million devices right now, operating in more than 35 countries. All right, so let's discuss fake accounts. It's important to remember that the fraud is a rare event, right? So how many accounts of your favorite food delivery platform do you currently have on your cell phone? So if you're not a fraudster, mostly of you is going to have only one account. And that's the reality for most of the apps. 99.8% of the devices only access to one account. And then the far you go from one account, it's becoming more suspicious. So in this case, recent POV that we run with Freenow, we discovered that less than 0.03% accessed 3 or more accounts. And then that's when the behavior start being suspicious.
Yeah. And here, like what I like to call attention is that we're talking about device, but then how many accounts are we talking about this device accessing, right? So then we're going to jump in the use case of promo abuse that we discussed previously in the panel as well, and how we assess the device technology, like to spot us in the promo abuse. But before we go in the numbers, I would like to call attention, like how do we look to promo abuse, right? So what is the configuration that is required to happen promo abuse? So first of all, of course, you need a promo code, right? So what is important to mention that maybe your marketplace is more aggressive in incentivizing, and therefore you're going to have more fraud in this particular case. But if you're incentivizing less, maybe you're going to see different numbers. So it's really dependent, right? And of course, the fraudsters will always have an eye on that, right? So they can sell the accounts, they can try to have free rides, actually, like using the promo codes by building like networks of devices, building like device farms and like trying to abuse our code. And of course, for the fraudster, there's a very key aspect, which is how much money they can make with that. So what we see here like at Freenow is that depending on how much money the fraudsters make, more sophisticated is the fraud, right? So here, let's talk about a bit of the foundation first. So you cannot track promo abuse if you don't have the correct data, and that's one of the key things. So when we're looking to app, right? So what are the linkage data that we have with the customer, basically? So on the left, we have the phone number in general, like any phone number. And you know that you can access websites and then you send SMS verification. So it's not really a super strong link. We call it average link. We have emails. In 5 seconds, you can create an email, right? So do we want to keep authenticating mails every time? But what is important is that the device is very strong link. And it's a very strong link because it's underlying, right? So we are not actually showing the customer the device, but we keep track of that. So to jump directly to some results, should be like straightforward on that. So we saw this one device here, which was an iPhone 13, consume 500 euros in voucher in our platform. So if you work in a ride-hailing industry or food delivery, how many deliveries, how many rides we're talking about, right? So can be a lot if you're talking about discount vouchers as well. So this device was accessing like 59 accounts and performed like several transactions in our platform. And to look a little bit like on the top 5 offenders here, and the approach was to pretty much look into multi-account. So we have devices accessing like multiple accounts, like 52, 59 accounts, 57 accounts, performing several installations. So the point and the message here is that using like device tracking in a problem that is the fraudster is making like, let's say, average amount of money, it's a very good approach already to identify the top offenders and potentially have countermeasures for that. So quick summary of the results, right? So the fraudsters abuse promo mostly via multi-account, and that was a really key takeaway for us. Second, that tracking the device is easy to track the top offenders, basically, and decide which strategy is the correct one to approve. So the countermeasures, and you know, like in the fraud teams, we don't want to like necessarily block any use from convert, like block new users. So potentially we don't need to block the account creation, but we can block the addition of the coupon to the wallet, for example. But the main message that I would like to share here is that the strategy is to not talking about loss, but reinvest in the correct cohort, right? So we can reduce acquisition costs by investing in the correct cohort if we are able to track which fraudster, like which group of customers is abusing our promo codes, to then, let's say, benefit good customers in our platform to increase retention, for example. And I hand over back to Edu.
Yeah, that's great, Guy. Okay, so we talk about tracking the device, which is really good because fraudsters can change email, phone numbers, and etc. But they still need, so far, a physical phone. Okay, and good. So another example from another company running a POV with us, which is quite easy to hear that. Oh, okay, Eduardo, but we already have our own device fingerprint, or we already have a provider that has a device fingerprint. But the thing is, you need to make sure you are detecting the tools the fraudsters are using nowadays. Because here, we have a Redmi Note 10S accessing 400 accounts. And this device in particular was using an app cloner called Dual Space Pro. So here, we are not talking only about devices uninstalling and installing the app, but also using technological tools to bypass security checks. All right. And so what we did for this particular device, we sent back to our customer, have a look at these 300 and something transactions. How many devices do you see on your end? And here is what we found. While Incognia was seeing only one single device, the data that this customer was seeing is that was actually 304 different devices. That's exactly what may going on in your company if the device ID that you're using is not strong enough or is not being able to detect this kind of tools. All right? But okay, here's the result. This device alone had consumed over almost 2,000 euros in voucher during 30 days. That's a lot of money from a single device, a single fraudster. And as Guilherme shared before, when you see a behavior like this guy is not alone. They're doing from different devices from the same location. All right? But okay, what is App Cloner? So before talking about Epic Cloner, I'll show you some prints that fake accounts are widely available for purchase. Almost all companies in the world have their accounts available on the dark web. You can pay few euros for a bank account here in Europe. You have the social account creation bundle. You can generate tons of emails and accounts. And so for each part of the scheme, the fraudsters had a way to create fraud as a service, and people and fraudsters are paying for that. Okay, another example of a couple of other accounts for sale. It's quite easy. You can search Telegram, buy accounts, insert here the name of the company you want to buy an account from, and then here we are. All right? Okay, but what is a app cloner? We have this today in Google Play. You can download, for example, Parallel Space Pro that might have a legitimate opportunity, for example, to keep two different WhatsApps with different phone numbers. But guess what? Fraudsters realize they can use this to commit fraud. And so another example is the app cloner. You can search that on Google too. It's basically a tool that you can manipulate anything from an app. And so here's a couple of examples. You can change Android ID, change email, change Wi-Fi and MAC address. You can change pretty much anything you want. And then the app clone, which will be a very similar instance of your app, will be created with all those variables manipulated. All right? So here's an example of cloning Telegram, and we have a real print screen of a device containing 10 Telegram clones. Imagine this can be your company. Several instances of your app being manipulated, and any like this. Each clone can have for you the data you're seeing, a different device model, a different operator, and etc. All right. So this is a video of disabling camera. I won't stick to the video, but one thing that you can do is say, okay, when the app call for the camera to facial recognition, for example, I don't want to use the camera. I want to use my own camera roll, and I can upload a video like Dudu showed you, right? So here, and of course, it's for sale as well. If you have a small donation of $40, you can manipulate a couple of stuff, and then medium. And the more money you pay, the more you can manipulate from app. All right? And then image injection. What if I have to put my face, but instead of putting my face, I can upload a video like I just showed you before. All right? So in this case, what we did in Brazil, with one of our partners, we onboarded a driver account using this app cloning. Instead of clicking the camera here, we just uploaded our camera roll, and then we onboarded a driver with the face of the dog. Yeah, and here is another example. So we have a photo as input, and then a video for the fraudster that, of course, covered his face. But basically, what we have here is a software creating videos from images. And so I can try to pick a picture of any you in the social media, put in a solution like this, and then I'm going to create your own face doing this, open the eyes, blinking. And that's what fraudsters have right now. All right? Okay, just an example of a fraudster trying to get a selfie bypasser from another ride-sharing company that if you saw the name, you saw. If you don't, you don't. But here, another two example. I just showed you with my own face, but there are actually a lot of tools available. I can change my face to Mark Zuckerberg. I wish I had the bank account. But well, you can pick up pretty much any famous person and use solutions like this. Okay? So, and that's a real message we received from one of the customers, that we are facing an onboarding attack in which fraudsters are bypassing our facial liveness. That's what's going on in Brazil right now. Okay? So yeah, I'll pass back to Guy so he can share with you other schemes that we find in Freenow that we're using tools like this.
All right. So what are the implications of that, right? So we can apply several countermeasures at the moment of the login, but if they can bypass the login, what is the implication afterwards? And this leads to this use case here, which is the unpaid, right? So basically, like in a nutshell, the fraudsters were finding a way to evade the payment transaction, right? So in our business as a ride hailing, we cannot like hold the customer in the taxi if the payment fails. So we're ending up with a debt, which was called like a fraudulent debt, or in other words, the unpaid rights. So we saw the chart before, but the difference here is that the fraudsters, as more money they make, as I mentioned before, more sophisticated they will be. So they were starting to attack our device at this point. Okay, so we saw that they were trying to manipulate this device via the emulators, via app cloners, via factory resets, and other information as well. So this is the example of what we saw. We spotted this fraud ring in the UK, in the United Kingdom. So here you can see like the accounts, but this pretty much scheme, like to put in perspective, they were selling rights to the outskirts of the UK. And going to like the outskirts cities as well. Okay. In just we see like in just one week, right? Like one single device costs like 2,000 euros for us. We're talking about just one device in this particular case. So imagine that we were talking about pretty much a ring of fraudsters. What could be the impact of that if we're not tackling this in the beginning? And another thing here to mention is that the behavior was not just mute account. So it was more than that. They were using, the device was like unique at this point, but the device had some additional information that allows us to categorize this into what I'm showing here. Oh, sorry. So here, what we have is the device, and the device has different signals. So we have the signal of the emulator, and we're combining this with our features. So what I would like to mention here is that important that in our own marketplace, we know our customer, right? We know what is considered a bad or a good behavior potentially. So we have to perceive device as a tool that enable us and enhance our AI models, for example, to find the right classification. So what we combined was the result of this device, so the information of the device with our own features that went through our machine learning model, where we're classifying the transaction or the device in this particular case into a low or high risk device. Yeah? And these were the results. In 1% of the rights, where we're seeing like this high risk behavior, so we classify in just 1%, we had concentration of 40% of our losses. So massive concentration. In terms of rate, 6 out of 10 rights in this particular case were considered fraudulent in this particular case, or they were ended up in debt. So to summarize here, the results of that. The fraudsters, they can try to manipulate, but they will leave traces. And then it's up to us to adapt to these changes, adapt our algorithms, and enhance our machine learning classification to then reach to a result that we managed to achieve a 40% loss reduction. But not just like looking to the device as a device ID, but other characteristics on the device on that. And yeah, I hand back to you, Edu.
Amazing. Great results, Guy. I hope you got promoted for this in partnership with Incognia. And yeah, so far we have been talking about devices and app cloners. And these are like people playing Pokemon Go like this grandfather. Okay? But here's actually how fraud farm look like. All connected to the power, to the energy, and each of these devices can generate a massive loss to your organization. But well, if you put in place a solution like Incognia, which we have a very strong device fingerprint, then that's not going to be possible anymore. Because when you detect a fraud, this device will be out of the game forever. That's the idea. But guess what? The fraud said, okay, They're blocking my devices. What if I just create emulators? Instead of using this to test my Android and iOS applications, I can try to create accounts and just in a matter of clicks, create another device. So, few seconds, you press 2 or 3 buttons, and then a brand new device fingerprint. And so, device fingerprint alone won't solve your problems. If you're not being able to get that your application is being run in an emulator like this, in a matter of clicks, the fraudster will bypass your technology. Okay? And so what we see in Brazil, and we are also known not only for football, but fraudsters' creativity. They discovered that, okay, I have an emulator, I have an app cloner. What if I combine those two tools together? And then here we have 6 emulators, one computer using app cloners. And so we pass from a perspective of one single device with 10 Telegram clones, but now we have 6 devices with 10 each. So in a matter of clicks, we came from 1 to 60 clones, seconds, minutes. That's easy. That's how they operate in large scale. All right? And so the last topic here is about fake GPS because at Freenow we run a POV. They are now happy as a customer, and then we are tackling since the beginning app cloners, emulators, and then Gui, can you share with the audience what happened before that?
Yeah, so we achieved like amazing results on the premium abuse and debts, and then we have this concept of water martyrs, right? So the fraudsters, they will migrate, they will not stop. We have to think that at the same time that we wake up every day to fight fraud, they wake up every day to commit fraud. So it's this Tom and Jerry approach, right? Like we're constantly trying to prevent them from causing harm to our platform. And now they're migrating to this behavior that we see 2 times more accounts using location spoofing after we tackle the fake account and the debt issue. So it's a never-ending story in a way, but the behavior is always changing, right? And that's the awesome thing to be like in this field in particular, that it's quite dynamic and make us like constantly think what are the solutions that we have to put in our marketplace to enhance the results.
Yeah, so I think the great thing about this story in particular is that it was like a matter of few days. Like when we saw the number of promo abuse, emulators, and app cloners going down, few days later, we start seeing people from London trying to travel very fast to Poland using fake GPS. Yeah, so the behavior is always changing, but of course, we are tracking those accounts to see what's coming next. Thank you very much.